Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Gerber's World, and I'm David Paul Gerber. And this is a resurrection of my former blogger. But anyway, just a little bit about myself before I talk about what's going to be my first episode about the long railroad strike. I was a born and raised New Yorker. I got out of New York for all the right reasons, and thank God I left New York itself. I worked for New York City Department of Transportation for 27 and a half years. I'm proud of the accomplishments and the work I've done to make the city a better place. But over time, I've also seen the city itself gone downhill, really downhill itself. So I moved out of New York. Thank God, me and my family got a nice house, and I still miss people in New York too. But anyway, this was my escape from New York. So excuse me, I should have my patch here from Snake Plissken from Escape from New York. I made my escape myself. But anyway, I'm here to talk. Let's dive right into it. First of all, what are my views? All right, listen, there are 10,000 people there that talk about politics. I may talk about politics from time to time, but I'm pragmatic. I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not a leftist. So either I praise Trump or I criticize Trump. It's an in between. There's no extreme left or right view. I'll praise people and I would criticize the same people itself too. I would criticize more Democrats themselves, but that's aside another point here. That's another story. And I'm going to tell you a little sneak peek of my first target. He's going to be my favorite target itself. I'll give you a little sneak peek right now. You can figure it out, huh? All right, now let's go on with the long railroad strike because that's been the topic of national news right now as well as local news here in New York. The strike started on May 16th at 12:01. MTA and the unions, the International Brotherhood of Engineers, and four of the unions representing walked out, and there are no trains running on the nation's oldest and largest commuter railroad network there. It stranded nearly 300,000 customers here. MTA, headed by CEO Johnny Lieber, says that they had given the final offer, they gave him offers, and they gave him everything on the table, and the unions refused. The unions also said that they would receive a chump change and that the MTA is not budging the negotiations here. Whatever one side is saying this and the other side is that is hearsay, I'm going to give you my take on this. First of all, the New York Post accuses some of the union members of making six figures overtime. The average salary is among the highest in the nation, $150,000. In fact, in the overtime, some of them are making over $300,000 to $400,000 a year. Heck, my take is this. If you did the work legitimately, if you were on the clock and you worked hard and you pull in 80 hours a week and there's no one else covering your shift, well, then you get the overtime and you're entitled to it. Then the MTA should figure a way to better schedule the workers themselves here. And let's face it, New York, according to the U.S. News and World Report, New York State ranks 45th in affordability. Of course, California ranks 50th. So that $150,000 a year, that's not going to go far in New York itself on anyone's salary here because it's not even going to be enough to cover a house that you pay for $500,000 here. So, yes, the unions have a gripe here. And if the MTA claims that they're given all that money, it will bankrupt them, well, what about the $750 to $800 million they lose in fare evasion in New York City subways? While this is nothing to do with Long Railroad, Long Railroad has some form of fare evasion as well. And They're okay with losing $750 million a year for the past 5 years, 6 years since COVID started. That's when fare evasion went way up itself, especially in the buses. And now you're telling me that they can't get raises. You're telling me that Governor Hochul, Kathy Hochul, just gave New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani a $4.5 billion bailout to balance the New York City budget for the fiscal year starting July 1st, but you can't have money for the workers themselves. You mean to say that Governor Kathy Hochul just spent like over $700 million, something like that, on new Buffalo Bills stadium that does not even have any access to the Buffalo subway system nearby? Mind you, that you have to drive out by car itself. You mean to say that the city has spent billions of dollars in housing and feeding migrants during Eric Adams' tenure? And now the city is broke, and now the MTA is broke, and they don't have the money to pay them? I mean, you know what? Everybody wants to cry broke, but whenever they spend the money, they're okay with spending other people's money. But when it comes to workers, they don't even want to spend theirs. So you know what? Both of you should get back to the table. You're inconveniencing 300,000 customers there. I'm sure that today was the first workday, and it must have been a disaster here. Now, imagine if you want to take a bus from Hicksville just to get to, I believe it's Howell Beach Station on the A line, Howell Beach or 179th Street, Jamaica. I don't have the list in front of me. Can you imagine the traffic on the long expressway just to get into Queens? It would probably would have taken at least well over 2 hours from Hicksville, Mineola, or Ronkonkoma just to get to Queens subway station, and then you have to take the subway, which takes another hour in. Now, for those people that just want to drive, you could be driving. You don't have long railroad service, but yet you still have to pay for the congestion pricing. There have been calls by the New York City Council, led by Council members Robert Holden and Vicky Palladino, two reasonably good council members I respect, to suspend the congestion pricing zone, the congestion pricing, which is $9 peak and $3 off peak evenings and weekends, for the duration of this strike or any other strike that affects any MTA transportation agency involved. It sounds like a good idea, but everybody has to get back on the table, and the MTA really needs to cut a deal. And if you don't have, if you want to speak out about, might have your chance on Wednesday. The MTA board and the committees are having their meetings all day on Wednesday, May 20th. Sorry, I was just checking the date, make sure it's correct. Wednesday, May 20th, they'll have committee meetings in the morning. You'll be able to register in person at 2 Broadway in the morning at least 30 minutes prior to the meeting itself here. At least 30 minutes prior to the meeting. So go voice your concerns right now, and voice them right now and let them know about the strike, that you don't want the strike anymore, that they need to settle, and they need to get it going right now so people can take the train to work itself. Anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll be back with another episode next week. All right? You take care and have a blessed day.